Welcome to the fourth in our series of Touring Texas Songwriters with our host, the long, tall Texan, Mr. Bruno Michel. Today's show features the Flyin A's and is brought to you by the Barrel Brewing Company and the citizens of historic Salado, Texas. The Flyin A's are recorded live in front of a studio audience for broadcast on Country Radio Switzerland. Get ready to have your spirits raised and enjoy the Flyin A's.
Today we actually have a duo that will be kind of interesting because they travel more abroad than they spend time here almost. And we got Hillary Clare and Stuart Adamson, or what they're called, the Flyin A's. So good to have you. Appreciate it.
Thanks. Great to be here. Thank you so
excited.
Much.
Yep. Yes, go ahead.
All right. Here's a song from our latest album about fighting for what you love.
I've got arms that want you, eyes that love what they see. I want to hold you and never set you free. This world may shake me, try hard to break me, but I won't stop loving you.
You drive me crazy, lock me up and throw away the key. Your touch can save me, mesmerize and tame me. This world may shake me, try hard to break me, but I won't stop loving you. All right, what you got, baby? Stuart Adamson on lead guitar, y'all. Woo!
Your lips are golden honeysuckle, straight from the vine.
You leave me buzzing each time you tell me you are mine. This world may shake me, try hard to break me, I won't stop loving you.
I love you, baby. Yeah, I love you, baby. I do. This world may shake me, try hard to break me, but I won't stop
Loving you,
loving you,
loving you.
loving you.
This world may shake
I won't
me, try
stop
hard to break
loving
me.
you. I won't stop loving you.
All right, let's start. You guys do not only tour the U.S., as we just mentioned, you also went all over Europe. You went to the U.K., the islands over there. Now you're going to New Zealand even.
Woo!
Hugging the koalas or whatever. And
Yeah, it'll be our first time heading over to New Zealand. We're super excited.
where
about
do
it.
you see the differences in the audiences when you compare like Europe to here? What's the biggest difference for you guys?
They're all great. They're all great. The only, to be honest, we even if we're in a country where they're not usually very rowdy, we usually can get people kind of rowdy and riled up. You know, we bring a little bit of Texas honky tonk with us. So the one time that I was a little thrown off was in Örebro, Sweden, and we were playing this theater, and everyone just looked very serious, and I was kind of like, all right, what's going on? Did I tell a joke that was awkward? You're not sure how things are landing. And then we took a break, and then everyone had a little more schnapps, and then it all kind of grew. And I was giggling because as we got to know people in the culture there, I'm actually a part Finnish, which is close. You know, they're quite well related to the Swedish historically, and I realized they're all just a little bit like my dad, because he's real like a little not awkward but he's very like focused and quiet until he has a little schnapps.
Yeah, but it's actually true that the European audience, a lot of the guys tell me that, and we figured that obviously out ourselves because we're from there, people like to listen to the music. They don't really party during the set because, you know, unless you're in a beer tent or whatever, but they actually know the songs, they know the words, and they really listen to what you're bringing up there.
And it's talking about awkward. I was the one who was awkward, not the crowd. It was the first set that I was like, because it takes an adjustment, and that was when we first started heading over.
And performing, even here in the States, that can happen sometimes. You just have a crowd that's hard to read. Because just because
they're listening, you know.
We always make a set list, but we don't always follow the set list because we kind of get a feel for what's happening, how are things going, let's change it, let's fix it. And sometimes periodically you'll have this audience where they're just so hard to read. And
but
they go in and they buy a bunch of merch.
Right.
It's such a gift.
So they obviously enjoyed it or they wouldn't be, buying
it's such
CDs
a gift.
and
So
doing everything.
It was a little bit of an adjustment, but an awesome adjustment. Are you kidding me? Like, they're listening so closely. So it was a pretty special experience.
They do, yeah. Now, Hillary, what has changed for you since 2003 at the Kerbal Festival when you were a backup singer for Stewart's band?
It was crazy, and the funny part is I didn't even really play guitar at the time. I bought one and took it because I thought if I want to be a singer-songwriter, I better play guitar. And so by day I'd watch people play, and then by night I'd go to my tent and write a song on it, like no one could hear how bad I was playing. And then I'd go to like song circles and I'd just play my guitar really soft and sing real loud, which isn't surprising if you guys heard that first song. I met him in a jam and ended up Stewart's backup singer. And now, be careful, ladies. When a boy asks you to join the band, you might end up with a whole new career, a new life, and a lot of new adventure, though. I highly recommend it, actually.
So what has changed for you, basically, compared to then? I mean,
oh, my
16
gosh.
years down the road.
Everything. So back then I was teaching elementary music, and I actually had a completely other life. And it was over a 1 week, everything changed. I had been singing and writing songs. I'd been doing studio work. So I had been a harmony singer, singing backup for bands, but really, and writing quietly. I would write songs and sing to my dog. And then I played piano, and those are hard to carry around. So that's hence me figuring I needed the guitar concept. And I only had one theory, and it was I will not be afraid to just completely suck out loud. Because when you're first learning instruments, it's quite intimidating. And I tell you what, it's opened my life and my heart up in so many ways.
So you never had one of these Charlie Brown pianos that you could actually carry around?
Actually, as a small child, I did have one of those. I want another one, actually. I was thinking about that would be a cool effect on it. And I quit playing piano, got focused on guitar, and now actually in our show I play piano. So we've got pianos come back around too. But it really did change my life, opened up the world to me on so many levels. And I was just talking with Linda, one of our beautiful hosts here, and we both were talking about the community around music and how there's a sincere friendship that you can meet. It can really cross language barriers. It can cross oceans. So thank you so much for putting this broadcast together, because really music, I mean, this may sound cheesy, but I feel like music brings us together and
it does.
Brings love and healing in so many ways. So.
Absolutely. All right. Well, that's a good introduction for another song, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
Do you want to try something like "Why Can't I Stop Loving You"? Or do you want to do?
I want to do Little Miss Tumbleweed.
Okay.
So, speaking of music, so I turned 18 years old, and I told my dad he said, you need to go to college, like get an education, which he was the first in our family to do that. We come from a long line of farmers. And what an honor and a gift to get to do it. So I looked him in the eye and I said, okay, Dad, if I'm going to go to school and study, if I have to read that much, I'm going to study music. Now my dad had become a businessman, so he looked me right in the eye and he said, music education, because then you can be a teacher and you got a real skill. Then I looked my dad in the eye and I said, okay, Dad, So if I'm going to study music education, I got to find myself. I got to move to the mountains where I can be inspired. And he looked me in the eye and he goes, how about Lubbock, Texas? And for those of you that aren't from Texas hearing this, Lubbock, Texas is about as flat as it gets. Literally, our friend Butch Hancock says, he's a great songwriter. Y'all probably already know about him, of course. But he says, Hillary, what I tell people about Lubbock is when you're standing there on a clear day, you can see 100 miles. But when you stand on an empty tuna can, you can see 300. So here's a song inspired by my first road trip to West Texas from the Hill Country in Austin, Texas. It's called Little Miss Tumbleweed off our latest album.
2, 3, 4.
Whoa. One more try,
start
baby.
that one over.
I was so excited about my story, I forgot about that guitar part. Whoops! We're professionals here, I swear.
1,
2. 1, 2, 3, 4. Got a runaway heart, nothing to lose. Black tops, gonna travel in shoes. Daddy's out catting, mama's home drinking. No sense crying, way past thinking. Windows down, gaining speed. All she knows is her heart needs an open road to set her free. Rolling on the breeze, little Miss Tumbleweed. Leaving her boyfriend back in town, who's begging that girl to settle down. She can't cotton to barbed wire fences. She ain't coming to her senses. Windows down, gaining speed. All she knows is her heart needs an open road to set her free. Rolling on the breeze, little Miss Tumbleweed. Talking about wind's at her back now. She's gonna be fine as soon as she crosses that county line. Windows down, gaining speed. All she knows is her heart needs an open road to set her free. Austin, Texas, Santa Fe, to come carry Monterey, Coeur d'Alene, Sunnyside, Jackson Hole, tell you right.
Yep.
True story right there.
You know, you were actually lucky with your dad's answer because, you know, you could have asked him or told him that when you grow up you want to be a songwriter, and he could have said, you can't do both.
That's true. I agree with that.
So, Stuart, as a teenager, you played in your dad's traditional country band.
I did.
Which style fits you best? Is it folk, Americana, country? Or doesn't it really matter?
It doesn't really matter, but I definitely did the country thing, definitely the honky-tonk, more traditional country thing. For a while. And actually, I was a rock and roll person. Loved Kiss and Ted Nugent and all those amazing people back in the day. And found country music through my dad's band. And it just felt right.
Okay. The question to both of you, 2006, after you got married, you put out your first album, and I think it was called Blacktop Back Road.
That's
something
it,
like that. How has your music evolved since then?
You know, it's...
like 13 years.
Yeah, I would say...
that record is... kind of bounces around from folk to jazz to country. And I think what we've done is we've taken it and we've kind of put it...
Fused it together.
Fused it all together. So it's more one thing now. And I think that record... It was a long time ago, and it was early on in us, but it felt like more like it was this part and that part and this part, and now it feels like it's more consistent.
Now, we're still quite a mix. When people ask what kind of music we do, I just say Texas music. Because Texas, I mean, you look at Willie Nelson, one of our idols, and he did Stardust with all the jazz. And
he did all kinds of stuff.
All kinds of stuff.
And all kinds of
And so do we. So we do a mix. So we had a documentary film follow us for 3 years called Folk. It's called Folk, but it's about songwriters. And we were one of 3 sets of characters. And someone at the film, it premiered in Nashville and was quite good for us and took us around the world one of the first times. And someone looked at me in the audience and they said, you know, what's so great about your songs is they really follow the storyline of your life. And I'm like, yeah, it's a lot cheaper than therapy. So I think our music has kind of evolved and matured as we have, although I'm quite still clearly a little bit. On the mature chart, I got a ways to go. But like you said, as songwriters, we never really grow up, do we?
Right. But you still kind of have a favorite area where you feel most comfortable in, or?
You know, just any chance to sing feels great. I grew up singing jazz with my Grandma Nisi, and grew up dancing in the honky-tonks near Austin, and then, you know, clearly made it to Lubbock, the big time. So I've just, you know what, I've never had one genre. I love all, I mean, I listen to rap, you name it, hip-hop. In the Grammy Association, we're both voting members, and one of my favorite things is getting to listen to all the records and all the different types of music. I'm pretty eclectic as far as my playlists go. So I have not, maybe that's part of just who I am. I incorporate lots of different styles into what I do and keeps, I don't know.
Well, but we both have short attention spans. We were talking about that on the way up here. And so liking a bunch of different music, it keeps you from getting bored and keeps us from getting tired.
And challenges you, too. I mean, some of these jazz tunes have like 572 chords.
Whoa.
So, I mean, it feels like, I don't know. He has to play them all. I just sing.
She doesn't learn those chords, so.
Somebody has to.
That's right.
All right. Well, let's hammer another one.
Which one do you, sweetie?
Do you want to do a love tune? Do you want to sing? Do you want me to sing?
Why don't you sing one more and then I'll sing one. Let's do Weekend Long.
Okay, so my mom, we were chatting about her earlier. She's awesome, as all moms are, and after a few martinis, she's quite honest. And she and I were hanging out one night, and she looked me in the eye and she said, "Hillary, why are you singing so many cheating and drinking songs?" And I said, "'Cause I'm going to be a country star, Mom." And then she looked me back in the eye and she goes, "I think Miranda Lambert, Kelly Clarkson have that covered. Why don't you just write a song about something you know about?" I'll be honest, I've had quite a few beers in my lifetime, but here's a love song my mom suggested I write, and as much as I hate to admit it some days, she was right. Here's a love song for you. I'm weak and wild. Feed this heart, forgive this pride. Give the truth where others lie. Across the line, you pull me back. Keep good time, but don't keep track of all the things I seem to lack. You, darling, you pull me through. Man of strength taught me to cry, to give this heart with long goodbyes. Blood is thick, forgiveness wise. You love me when I'm fighting bad, even with the ghost of past scars can fade, and love can last with you. Oh, darling, you see me through. As gray begins to find its place and life takes on that faster pace, let's let this love complete the race for two. Darling, you love me through. Love me when I'm weak and wild. Feed this heart, forgive this pride. Give the truth where others lie.
Yeah.
Love song for you.
Right. Now, you actually omitted something. You not only play jazz with your grandma, you also sang gospel in church, right?
I did sing gospel for a long
How
time.
did that come about?
Well,
Just be there and start singing, or what?
okay, so my parents, I grew up in the Southern Methodist Church, and Wednesday nights was UMYF night, youth. I don't know, United Methodist Youth Fellowship night. So I was involved in this, and parents like to keep their kids busy. Maybe they just liked a little time for themselves. It might have been date night for them. But so I joined the choir because my friends were joining it at church. And they had a musical, like a church musical for kids. And it always culminates with a big duet. Like, oh, and then the two duet kids sing. And then it's like, oh, everything's great. So I really wanted to sing. I'd been singing on my own forever in my room. My parents didn't really know this. And so I thought if I learned all the boys' parts and the girls' parts by heart, the choir director would feel guilty and have to give me a part. So I go in and I try out for everything but the big duet, because there was this girl who was like, I was only like 12, and it was all through high school. So there was like an 18-year-old girl who was clearly going to get that role. So by the end of the day, I had like tried out for every part. Like I literally went and tried out for the boys' parts, and the director's kind of like, well, this is weird, but I don't know. And my plan was hatched. And then we get to the final tryout for the big solo. And he's like, well, don't you know this one? And I was like, well, I mean, I do, but what's the point? And so lo and behold, to my parents' surprise, they show up to church. And there I am. Me singing with this big high school dude. And the lady in church looked at my mom and goes, I didn't know she could do that. And my parents go, we didn't either. Now, they had heard me singing jazz with my grandmother, but maybe I wasn't that good, because they seemed surprised when they heard me on a microphone. But
It's also a little different then. Now, your first kind of impression or experience was probably in traditional country when you were up on stage with your dad. Can you remember the first song
actually,
you ever
I do.
sang?
I was actually born in North Carolina, and my mom was born and raised in San Antonio. Dad was born in Waxahachie, raised in Abilene. Older brother and sister born in Houston, but my dad worked at a little college outside of Asheville in Swannanoa, called Warren Wilson College, and there was a songwriter there that I've known all my life. He was a good friend of my parents, and he wrote a Jackson for Johnny Cash and the Kingston Trio, cut a ton of his stuff. And anyway, so a lot of what I remember from early on was just Billy Ed Wheeler songs. A guy named Billy Ed Wheeler. And
he's still around. He's a cool guy.
He is.
We cover a couple of his tunes.
He must be around almost in his 80s now, right?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. He's in his mid to late 80s, I think, at this point.
Cool. Is he still writing?
He just published a book. He just published his life story.
Yeah,
actually.
he did.
He paints as well.
And he paints as well. He doesn't perform all that much anymore, I don't think.
And so we've covered one of his tunes on the latest album. He's a huge influence.
And actually, we're putting another one on the record
and
we're working on right now.
we were so scared. I think it's the first one we've covered, and we sent it off. And I was like, oh, I hope he likes it. I hope he likes it. And
he sent a really nice
note back.
Note back saying how much he liked it. And
so your first song was then basically one of Billy Ed Wheeler, or
yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
What?
And I was actually a kid. We went and visited them because they lived part-time in Swannanoa and the rest of the time in Nashville, and he was very active in Nashville back in those days. And it's only like a 4 or 5 hour drive anyway. I'm not sure, it's not that far. And we went up and visited them one time, and back in those days when they did recordings, they didn't multi-track, so they had these huge rooms because you had to have the whole band in there as isolated as possible. And the engineer, the guy doing the recording, heard a noise and stopped everything. They decided that it was a noise that I had made in the control room.
At age 3.
I got kicked out. So my first experience in a recording studio was cool, but not that positive.
Not that cool for the rest of them.
For those around me, it wasn't that cool.
Cool. All right, let's have another one then.
What you think, sweetie?
You want to sing one?
Okay.
You said you would.
Weekend Wild? Not Weekend Wild. I mean, Where Real Love Begins?
Sure. Or the new one, Texas, Where She Feels Like Home. Oh, let's pick it up. We're married. Can you tell?
No.
Do you want to be alone?
5 minutes.
Actually, if you don't mind,
hey, now.
you can give us about 30 seconds.
Let's do an up-tempo, baby.
And then bring some Band-Aids.
Okay, then why don't you sing?
Okay. That's right. Let's do Don't Need the Road No More.
Okay. That works.
Or Rolling On. First album. I told you to make a set list. Oh, no, she didn't. This is real, y'all. We can't make up this banter.
Sometimes you want to adapt to the questions
That's
as well,
That's
right?
it.
Well, that was it.
So, this is a tune. This is off the first album. We weren't really even touring. We both were actually kind of in a financial crunch. And we thought, if we write the song, it will happen. This is a song about actually just hoping to tour the Texas Hill Country.
Blacktop back road, doesn't matter where we go as long as we're going anywhere. Steaming mug on the dash, pocket full of petty cash. Don't know where we're heading and we really don't care. Rolling on.
Truck stops, white lines, passing city limits, sun's barely rising and we're making good time. No bills, new thrills, heading through the Texas hills. Me, my baby, and a car that can fly. Guitars on the backseat, baby's got bare feet, typing on the glove box through the radio. Got his hand on my side, smiling a mile wide, revving up my engine and away we go. Country bar, living from a tip jar, dancing in the street, just Jolie Blonde. Driving fast, playing hard, feeling free, living large, only heading home when the money's all gone. Rolling on. Blacktop back road, doesn't matter where we go as long as we're going anywhere. Truck stops, white lines, past the city limit signs. Don't know where we're heading and we really don't care. Rolling on, rolling on, rolling on. There's an oldie but a goodie.
There you go.
Yeah, now you guys probably wonder why these guys call themselves the Flyin A's. there's a story that says that, Stuart, you come from a ranching family, and that was actually your family, your ranching brand, right? Your cattle brand.
Yeah, my grandfather and his brother came up with the Flyin A, and that's where the name was. And when we first got together, we were Tompkins and Adams, and this was before we got married.
We sounded like a law firm.
We were either a law firm or we could do your taxes. We could do a lot of things for you.
Did you note you were already first?
Yeah, that's right. And then we got hired for a gig out at Pootie's Hilltop. Pootie was Willie Nelson's road manager, sweet guy. And I called him, and he was on the golf course with Will, and he said, Hillary, I love your singing, I like your songs, but I just can't have someone play my bar that sounds like a law firm, so I'm only booking you if you go by the name TNA, which here in the States can stand for like a stripper act. So we decided quickly, he did book us as TNA, and we decided quickly we might need to think of a different band name.
Well, and then we got married. And
It
was like, and I actually had a pair of my dad's boots from when he was a teenager that have a Flyin A on them. You know, the name came with a logo, which is convenient.
And we were trying all these things, like get a band name, and then I looked at our mantle and I said, why don't we just be the Flyin A's? Like it's a Texas cattle brand that really belongs to our family. Like, come on, how hard is this? And it's just kind of stuck ever since.
So what other names were in the game?
Oh,
except
geez.
TNA and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
Well, there was this idea where you get everybody and they put like a noun and an adjective or something like that. And,
like the
and
triple humbuckers, and I mean, I had all kinds. I mean, I have lots of ideas.
That's why Mandolin Shit Kicker came to his name, right?
That's it. That is Mandarin. Yeah. And Mandarin, by the way, he's one of our good friends in Switzerland. So Mandarin, he has a great place that he's put together some house concerts called Shit Kickers. He has his own beer brewed like Texas beer, and actually check him out because he's got a new album of music and has written this beautiful book of stories, poetry stuff to go along with it, describing his journey in music in Switzerland with that Texas connection. So it's pretty cool, yeah.
Right. So back to the other names.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God. So I don't know. Like, what else did we have?
Otherwise, these guys leave for Switzerland.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, geez, yeah.
I don't even remember what the other names were.
I remember Humbuckers was in there. I just remember thinking, that's kind of cool, Humbuckers. But then I thought, Anyways, the Flyin A is one.
It is hard to come up with a name.
So many Texas bands are like, I need to create my own cattle brand, like, as a part of their logo.
Right.
So it just seemed like a no-brainer.
So basically, if you want to ever play music, first you buy a cattle, and then
you do
the branding.
Exactly. Or come from a cattle family.
And Stuart's family goes back in Texas, like 5 generations. His parents just happened to be living out of state when he was born. So it works.
My younger sister and I.
All right. Okay. Let's do another.
How about this dirt?
Oh, yeah. So Stuart comes from a long line of ranchers. I come from a long line of family farmers. I've been in Texas since I was 5, but for those of you on the radio who can see me, I'm not. I have bright blonde hair and come by it honestly.
And very pale skin.
Well, yeah. So in Minnesota, I'm tan. My family's from Minnesota, very far north near Canada, and we have a family farm there. But you can see on that black dirt, you can see the houses coming over the hill. We live in South Austin, where all the artists and the musicians live. And slowly but surely, we're starting to lose our homes. For this or for that, but a lot of it's just not cool, man. And as we've traveled around the world, we've realized it's not just us who are working hard to keep a roof over our families' heads. Whether it's family land that goes back 5 generations, or a young couple just trying to build a home of their own. This song is dedicated to all those trying to hold on to that. Inspired by a friend of ours in Edna, Texas. Someone decided to put a highway straight through their home of 5 generations on some black dirt down there. People say we are divided, but I have seen us stand side by side to fight for what's right. The right side, the left side, the center side. Together we all stood on the Texas Capitol steps. People in tie-dye and long hair. Cowboys with hats, boots, and starched shirts. That day we stood and we shouted and we sang and we fought for what was right. And that homestead is still there. That's what inspired this song. It's called This Dirt. They say this dirt in my backyard is good as black gold. 5 generations now, we farmed it as our own. We fed the towns for miles around when hard times hit this place. Our neighbors came and prayed for rain, our spring their saving grace. We've always done our best to make this nation proud. We've always flown the flag with pride on this hallowed ground. With honest hands we have worked the land and made this dirt our home. We'll stand up for our rights and keep it coming. We won't back down. My granddad surely would be turning over in his grave if he knew this fertile land of ours was ever to be paved. It's hard to fight a rich man's war that claims eminent domain. Come hell or high water, they'll surely know our names. We've always done our best to make this nation proud. We've always flown the flag with pride on this hallowed ground. With honest hands we have worked the land and made this dirt our home. We'll stand up for our rights and keep it coming. We won't back down. No, we won't back down. They say we'll have to change with time and let go of this place. But family land like ours, you know, no money can replace. So if they try to cross this line, a fence we call our own, you bet regret is all they'll get. They'll never take our homes. We've always done our best to make this nation proud. We've always flown the flag with pride on this hallowed ground. With honest hands we've worked the land and made this dirt our home. We'll stand up for our rights and keep it coming. This land is worth the fight, let's keep it coming. We won't back down. We don't back down. We won't back down. Don't back down.
Yeah.
One of our latest songs right there.
There's actually a line that you had in that song is actually true, but for a different reason. A lot of musicians actually think about moving out of Austin because it's just getting unaffordable to live there because prices are jacked up all the time.
That's absolutely.
That's us too. Yeah.
That is us. We keep talking about it and thinking about it. We've got such a tight community of friends, though. I don't know if, I don't know where we'd go if we left. But
Salado looks pretty cool.
May not be much cheaper. Richard lives here.
When they're trying to figure it out, one thing that makes Austin what it is the artists and the musicians. Yeah. But it's a trend happening all over the world, not just here. So it's an interesting time. I think it's an interesting opportunity because I actually have been working with the city of Austin, fighting for to make sure that the people who make it a beautiful place actually get to stay and keep it a beautiful place. Whether it's the waiters or waitresses, the bartenders, the bar hops, the local business owners, the musicians, and the visual artists. And our city council's trying, so we'll see. but I'm trying to stay on them.
Where would you see alternatives? I mean, around like 200 miles or whatever, Lubbock.
Yeah, hey, Lubbock's a pretty happening place.
Because they got a pretty big music scene too these days.
They do.
They absolutely do.
They do. So there's a lot of other places that are growing, and I just am a firm believer in with a little creativity, ingenuity, and being willing to take a risk. There has to be a way to make it work. So we'll find out. To be continued.
Yeah, sooner or later. Now, both of you, your last album, Drives Me Crazy, is from 2017, and I know you have a new project coming up.
We do.
Talk about it.
Ooh, it's exciting.
Well, we did our last record with a guy named Chris Gage.
Who's been on the show with Christine Elbart. They're mentors of ours, actually.
And so we're in there working with that. And we have a new batch of songs that we're excited about. And any time to get to work with Chris, it's amazing.
We haven't even titled the album, and actually we're hoping to have it in our hands by June so that we can bring it overseas first in July.
Yeah,
so,
well, hopefully in the next few weeks we'll finish all the recording parts. And it's just mixing and trying to figure out that part.
I don't know. It's kind of like, I don't know. I'm a stepmom. I don't have kids, so I don't know what it's like to give birth, but it's nerve-wracking. I'll just tell you that much.
Well, and as far as the name...
I was going to say it's like giving birth to a child, and then I realized I have no experience with that.
I will say
that my friends do, so I just need to stop that analogy right away.
With the records that I've done, you might have a working title, but it tends to change. Once everything gets finished, then it kind of, okay, let's look at this and let's feel, what's actually the best... What's the best title that describes the project? Mm-hmm.
So we'll have some friends get together over some wine and listen to the tunes, and we'll figure it out.
It out. So what is it going to be? Is it like a mix of styles, or is it kind of?
It'll be a Texas mix. So it'll have a little bit of some kind of, I don't know.
Actually, well, it's got some country. Full band electric stuff. It's got some acoustic stuff.
Yep. So it'll be a mix.
Some fast, some slow, some honky tonk.
Yep. A little bit of something for everybody on this record.
Okay, so, it's coming out in June.
Coming out in June's the plan. Yep.
Keep us updated.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Maybe you'll even have us back with some of the new tunes.
All right, now that album was also nominated for a Grammy.
We ended up on the first round Grammy ballot, which was so exciting.
Best Americana album, by the way. They made it the first round. What do awards or nominations in general mean to you? I mean, I'm aware that you didn't have like a pile at home yet, but still can happen. What does it mean?
And actually, it's super cool. It's super cool, and we've gotten quite a few bits of recognition. But we're independent artists. This is probably where having a publicist would be a good idea, because they're good at touting those things. I will say, though, as an artist, it is nice to be recognized.
Anything that can get people's attention is a good thing.
It helps for people who don't know us. Probably they know that they're going to get some quality music. But I'm going to be honest; it feels really awkward talking about it.
The question is, do Grammys these days have the same kind of level of value like they used to have?
I think if you win, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. I think so.
We'll see how that goes for the people this evening.
I just want the fancy dress. I want to get a fancy dress and some of the free stuff from the swag room.
Right.
But I think anytime you can be recognized by your peers is great, Okay. But to be honest, that's not obviously why we do our music. We do our music. I always tell people, music chooses you. You don't necessarily choose it.
That's true. I've actually given it up a couple of times. It's like I did the whole Nashville thing where you go and Nashville and you pitch songs and you do this and you do that, and it's like, it was the most amazing experience I ever had, and it was just really difficult all at the same time. So when I moved back to Texas, I kind of gave up on it a little bit. At least that was my plan.
And then he met me.
I was already doing a record by then.
But that's true.
But I did come here. I mean, when I moved back to Texas, and I grew up in San Antonio, and my wife at the time,
not me,
a totally different world.
I didn't know him when he was married. Just putting that out there.
she's throwing me off right now.
Well, basically, you're in good company because Randy Rogers came back, Wade Bowen came back.
Oh, sure, and I think Garth Brooks, and Alan Jackson both went home twice, maybe before they. Right. But I was just burned out. So, but I did leave a guitar out, even though I didn't touch it much when I at my house, and then eventually I kind of started, picking it up and play it again. It's not really a choice. Music more chose me than I chose it. It was just something that was in me, and trying to give up something that's such a part of you, and you define yourself that way. Which even then, I still defined myself as a musician. I was just, I don't know, searching for whatever.
I think that's the main point. The latest example in Nashville, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with a girl named Maren Morris.
Yeah.
I saw her the first time, 2004, at the Texas International Apple Festival. I didn't even know Texas had an International Apple Festival in Medina, Texas. She was 14 years old. Her daddy threw out T-shirts and koozies for free to the audience. The girl was country as can be.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the reasons Bowen and Rogers and these guys came back, and Pat Green, by the way, too, is that once you reach a certain level, they try to transform you with a marketing machinery into what they think makes you successful. And that means basically you'll give up your artistic kind of personality.
Yeah.
We've had a few opportunities come down the pike, and I'll be honest, we've stuck with our independent because we like to do what we do. And so far, so good. I don't know.
Worked pretty well so far, I guess. Your travel, it's all good.
Yeah, life is good.
Yeah.
All right, before I go into the last question, let's play another one.
Okie dokie.
What you got, baby?
You want to do something just like I Want More or something like that? Or like She's Already Gone?
She's Already Gone. This is a song that's not made it on a record yet.
That could be a combined song title.
Oh, it could be. Let's write it right now. Go. So this is a song inspired by I-35. For those of you who are from here, a whole crowd is laughing because...
We have a few songs inspired by I-35.
Yeah, I guess.
It's a straight shot from Austin, Texas to Minneapolis. And I grew up here in Texas, but the only way I'd see my family is every summer my mom would get me and my brother in her old, big Cadillac and drive straight up I-35 for 22 fun-filled hours if we didn't hit a traffic jam. So I've been obsessed with the road. I've been obsessed with the road ever since. And when I met Stuart, I had probably had 14 different addresses in a matter of 3 years. And when I met him, I just, thought, I wonder what would happen if I stuck around in this town. So this song is called She's Already Gone, inspired by that very scenario. She's already gone on down the road. She's tired of taking chances on a life that's not her own. She knows why she's leaving. She never stays for long, but he wasn't like the others. Can't say he's done her wrong. It's not the sting of the morning after, or the leaving that makes her cry. It's the knowing that if she's driving, she can't be left behind. He still feels her senses, his whisper, his cologne. She feels his lips, each tender kiss, with each bump in the road. It's like she's always known him, like there's nothing left to hide. But the pain from the past was tight and lasts, no matter what she tries. It's not the sting of the morning after, or the leaving that makes her cry. It's the knowing that if she's driving, she can't be left behind. And he abusé, da donde. She's already gone, fading streetlights and passing cars, hypnotized by dotted lines, disappearing morning stars. But that ache for him's relentless, her pounding heart's a yearning sound. She's fighting every shaking nerve not to turn that car around. It's not the sting of the morning after or the leaving that makes her cry. It's the knowing that if she's driving, it's that need to keep on driving. It's the knowing that if she's driving. Song we haven't recorded yet.
Turn around the car, good luck on I-35.
I did turn it around, apparently.
Now, Stuart, you had a couple solo albums. Is there any plan to produce another solo project, or?
You know, I don't know.
Yeah, is there, Stuart?
Yeah, they look, she just get you're going to get me in trouble.
I'm not talking about that solo project.
You know, I don't know. We'll just have to see. Hillary, we've talked about Hillary doing a jazz record.
Texified jazz. I do texified jazz.
So I'm not really sure. We haven't really talked about that.
Kind of obsessed with each other right now.
What would you call texified jazz?
Oh, well,
it's just
it's my own brand of jazz.
It's the way that we can.
That's for another show.
Morph the jazz stuff into more of the honky. And we've actually played the jazz songs and
we do
at
texified
dance
jazz.
halls and all that kind of stuff. So
imagine
so we call it texified jazz. They just feel better.
How
about
high
it.
the moon, fly me to the moon, ain't misbehaving with dobro.
There you go.
That's what we do, and it works. We like it.
Do you want to try a texified jazz number right now?
Well,
yeah, sure. What do you want to do, sweetie?
So, well, we don't have our dobro with us, but we could do. On our latest album, we have one texified jazz tune called Mr. Blue. It's not by us though; it's by our friend Claude Butch Morgan. But for the radio show, we can talk to him because he lets us sing it and make sure that we get approval, but he's told us it's all right to sing at places like this. So here's Mr. Blue, a little texified jazz for you. Imagine dobro, all right, y'all? He's always right behind me, likes to follow me close. That's why I don't slow down much. That's why I keep on the go. This is life as I know it. Said it ain't nothing new. I'm staying one step in front of Mr. Blue. Well, there's no need to look back, 'cause I know who it is. It's that friendly old past that's been chasing me for years. In my life I've had hard knocks, made bad choices, paid my dues. Do yourself a favor, stay away from Mr. Blue. Mr. Blue's always there. You can have him anytime. He'll be glad to stay a spell. He'll be glad to rob you blind, take everything you own, leave you broke down and confused. I'm staying one step in front of Mr. Blue. Well, I don't have much to offer in the way of good advice, except just keep on looking up and do something good with your life. And be sure, yeah, be sure and wear comfortable shoes and stay one step in front of Mr. Blue. Oh, yes, well, stay one step in front of Mr. Blue. Texified jazz. Oh, thanks for asking. That's so cool.
Texas accent.
That's it. That's it.
Right.
Claude Butch Morgan tune that
Amazing.
he's kind enough to let us sing.
Cool. Now, before we go into the last question, let me check with you guys if you have any questions for these folks up here.
How did
Talk to
you
you, Kayla.
transfer from a elementary school into that? I can see where that personality for a elementary school could transfer into music stage type personality.
Well, to be honest, like, I've always been one of those goofy people that always kind of stands out. And I always end up, my whole life, have been shoved in front of crowds and told to talk, you know, sort of thing. And then they're like, woo, slow it down, Adamson. You know, but I've always kind of had an out there personality, but wasn't real comfortable with it. And actually, so when singing backup was very natural. So when I met Stuart, I actually was singing on my own a little bit and quite uncomfortable with it. Plus, when you're singing your own songs for the first time, it's really awkward. Because I sing... one thing about my singing is that it comes from my heart. So I'm sharing a piece of me with you, and that was very intimidating. So when I met Stuart, he heard me singing and then heard a few of my songs, and he actually is the one who shoved me out front. I'll be honest.
You're welcome.
Shiner Bach was a good friend to me when I first started.
Stuart, my sympathy to you, sir.
Yeah.
I'm a patient man.
So
I'm a lucky man. That's what I am.
I feel like it's always been something I've had the bits and pieces, and Stuart was actually the one who kind of found that and put it together. And we were very lucky. I was very lucky to happen upon Lloyd Maines and Terry Hendricks too. So they're great artists, and Lloyd's played all over the world. You know, his daughter's Natalie Maines, and he's a kind heart. And I remember being in the studio, he was playing on Stuart's album, and we were all having a break, and I said, you know, it's just awkward because Stuart's throwing me out front, and then the boys have to tune and they tell me to tell jokes. I'm horrible at telling jokes. I'm just not sure what to do up there. And he looked me in the eye and he said, Hillary, why don't you just be yourself?
That's Lloyd.
And it was quite good advice, but I would be lying if I didn't say it was a pretty big transition, but one that one thing about the Texas music scene is that it's you're surrounded by people who want to cultivate each other. So and Stuart's the prime example of that. So that's a great question. It was real scary, I'll tell you that much. But at the same time, that adrenaline rush is pretty cool, y'all. So I never looked back once he did it. Woo!
Any more? Go ahead.
How did you make the leap from being Texas artists to being accepted in Europe?
So,
Really through
it all
Folk
started
Alliance.
through Folk Alliance, but really, actually, we were playing Spec Store outside of San Antonio, and there was a couple there that are a duo from England, the Rosaleys. Check them out, y'all. Maybe we can get them to come on tour with us over
They've
in
become
Europe.
really, really close friends of ours.
And they said I had actually submitted to be a part of the Royal Academy of Music, did a special weekend,
or a week long.
Kind of workshop on like for professional singers, and I submitted on a Wild Hair, and I thought, well, gosh, we could go see our friends, the Rosaleys. They had heard about us. They wanted to see a good Texas duo, and everyone in San Antonio had recommended us, which what an honor. So they came to see us, and I said, do a couple songs. We became fast friends. So fast forward 2 years, and I think, well, I'll put my name in for this. And it was really cool. A lot of the vocal coaches from around Europe, which are some of the best, especially for singing pop and blues, and country and rock, were giving back to the Royal Academy. And so they said, we'll do this week-long workshop and work with singers. And I applied as an American artist and got in. So that was kind of the launching point, and then connecting with the Rosaleys. And we've kind of never looked back. So that's kind of how it started. And what's funny is I didn't realize, I didn't really realize how big, I knew the Royal Academy was big, but I'd put my name in for this thing, and they had a jazz workshop, and I was the one who was singing the jazz because I'm American and I can scat. I already do a lot of it. And there was a big concert at like Royal Albert Hall, or I think that's the name, a big hall there. And they had chosen me to be the jazz soloist. But I had a gig in a pub, and I said, I got a gig, I can't make it. But I probably should have made it. So sorry about that to Royal
But
Academy.
you don't cancel gigs.
But we don't. When we get a
show,
show, we stick with it. And yeah, so it's bizarre, this connection leads to that. But are my favorite parts meeting people and making friends.
Cool. Anything else?
Lyrics first, or music first, or
It
combination of
just
both?
really depends. It just really, really depends.
Yeah, I think sometimes like Guy Clark's one of my idols, and he wrote one of our favorite songs, but that it took him 10 minutes. So a song can fall in your lap with music and everything, and it just flows out of you. He just finished a song that has taken 10 years. He started it when he first met me and just finished it, and it's going to be on the new album. So sometimes a lyric gets stuck in your head. Sometimes I hear melodies. Sometimes I sit at the piano and just noodle until something comes up and be like, oh. So I think for us...
Well, yeah, it just...
You just didn't want to do anything wrong. That's why it took you 10 years, right?
Yeah. well, and lyrically, sometimes there's just something that doesn't quite feel right in it, and you just can't come up with what it is. And there's something about the song that makes you keep coming back to it periodically.
As a matter of fact, we have a song that all the music's down, but we're just not happy with like 2 lines in the song.
Yeah, on the record.
I haven't
the track
seen it
is
yet.
sounding great. This
I'm
track
still
sounds
writing
so
it. I'm
good.
not happy with it. And this is a song that I probably had 5 years like in a drawer.
Yeah.
And it's got great music to go with it. The lyrics
And we're getting closer.
are almost working, but
We're getting
It's just-
closer. But the music is the record. I'm excited about it being on the record if we can just find words to go with it.
we just have 2 lines left to fix, but yeah, so it's 2 lines. Let's
Yeah,
get
but
this done.
you fix those 2 lines and you got to change
That's the-
this. It's
yeah.
it's all
Yeah.
connected.
It's a
It's
process,
like
right?
dominoes, right?
Yeah, so
you
for
change
us-
this, you got to anyway.
It's random. It's random. You never know when the song's going to come to you. Woody Guthrie used to say that all the melodies are floating through the air. It's just a matter, in words, it's just a matter of stopping and listening. That the music really is all of our music.
Yeah, Roger Miller called it catching butterflies.
Mm-hmm.
You're just catching butterflies.
Yep. So, I wish we had a real answer for you. Ours is,
Hey, anything else? Otherwise, we get to the last question, which is well known and famous already here for over 200 interviews, and I always ask the same thing. What would you ask yourself in an interview that I did not?
ooh, okay.
And I mean you, not each other. So.
Yeah.
Because you know each other.
I would say a good question is, how do we make it as life partners, music partners, and business partners, and creative partners?
That is a tough question. We were listening to something on NPR on the way up here, and it was about, they were just talking about relationships, and there was this guy there was this long story, and this person was saying, well, maybe I think if I get married, I'm gonna wait. We're gonna have a thing where in 7 years we're gonna.
It's like a renewable contract.
It's either gonna end at 7 years or we're gonna get remarried at 7 years. And the interviewer was going like, you could tell that he wasn't married when he said that, because sometimes.
Yeah, tell a girl that.
Two things. One,
do
being
I get
married,
another ring?
Us being married, but also the music. We've been through some hard times in the 15 years really that we've known each other.
How am I old enough to be married 15 years? He married me when I was just young, 13.
And we've been married 13 and a half, I guess. And if it wasn't for that stuff, I mean, we went through some really tough times. And because we were married, because we were married and because of the music, it really made us work on the issues, talk through the miscommunication that was happening, and really made us much stronger as a couple, too.
There'd be times that, we're really going through some growth opportunities, and then we get on stage, and the first song or two, and then by the third song, we're just kind of singing, and the music has carried us
knock
through.
on wood, that hasn't happened in a while. I am definitely knocking on wood.
And the best part about being a songwriting duo is that even the toughest times, you get a good song out of it. And you might even get a good song that helps inspire someone else through a tough time. So that's the question I would ask. And our song that we kicked off the show with was I Won't Stop Loving You. And it says, this world may break me. Okay, this world may try to break me.
You wanted to open with
it might try to shake me, but I won't stop loving you. And I think that when you love so deeply, it can be hard. And the things that are hardest are sometimes the most worthwhile. And I think that's how I've gotten through the ups and downs.
And that song, actually, going back to that movie that followed us, they needed something from us. We actually had to write it and record it and get it sent to them within less than a week.
48 hours, actually, because I said, sure, we'll do it. And so it's write a song in 48 hours and record it.
Well,
I think we can do it. We're songwriters.
And so we actually got it done and have loved the song and played it almost every gig since.
That film was following us during the hardest part of our marriage to date. And they called it the kitchen table interviews because we were actually talking to the documentary crew and
more
not
than we
each
were
other.
Talking to each other. Again, you learn in relationships.
And then they said,
right?
"Do you want to leave all this in there?" And I said, "Well, it's a documentary." They were kind. They were going to let us choose. And I said, "Well, it's a documentary." And then I said, "And to be honest, isn't it to show the truth about fighting for what you love? And for us, it's fighting for our music. It's fighting for our family." And sometimes it's even fighting with each other for each other. So
that's true too.
Now that's a great answer in that respect. Who wins when you have an argument about how a song should go on?
Me. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
It's.
Anybody surprised?
He wins a lot more than you see. He's got that quiet energy.
Particularly that type of stuff. It's like, well, you know what? It's not. We just need to keep working on it because I really like this. You like that. It's not working. Let's get it until we're both happy with it.
We've even gotten a song out of that argument.
We have.
And I think who a lot of times decides is the audience. So we'll have a song and he'll be like, "I think you should change this." And I'll be like, "Okay, I'll try it a few times." And sometimes the audience, it's a new song, and the audience is like, oh, that was a new song, right? Then you change that one thing, and they'll be like, "Oh, that was great." And you're like, "Geez, Stuart was right." So the audience can help. Our friends and audience.
Arguments at home, I don't think I've ever won one.
Oh, we can all relate to that.
But arguments over the music, we tend to work those through a little bit.
Oh yeah, no, we don't believe everything.
All right, thank you very much, guys. Let's do another song, and I appreciate you being here.
Yeah, thank you so much.
What you think, sweetie?
Do you want to do a new one off the new album?
Or one of the ones we just talked about. Why can't I?
Yeah, one of the conflict songs.
Okay, so this is a country song. It's a song inspired by the fight we had because I thought I was right about his song. that he was letting me sing for a competition for the Colgate Country Showdown. Garth Brooks had won this early in his career, and we were lucky enough to get to the final stage in Texas. And this was our big moment. We were going to be playing for the Amarillo Rodeo.
Actually, it was in
Abilene stock show and rodeo on a Sunday afternoon at 3. And the judges were there, and I said, this is how it should be. And he was like, no, it shouldn't. And I said, well, I'm right. And I stormed away with my guitar, and I went in the back room, and I was like, tell me why can't I stop loving you when it only breaks my heart. I was so mad. And then I was like, oh, wait, I think that's a song. So I went straight to the front room and I said, I know I'm mad at you, but I think we have a song here. And we made up writing a cheating song together.
1, 2,
3, 1. No cheating necessary. Why can't I stop loving you when it only breaks my heart? This ring on my hand is a tarnished band that I wish would keep us apart. Why can't I stop wanting you when I knew I'd leave you from the start? You've stolen my pride, the truth's grown hard to hide from that man I left in the dark. Won't you return my to me? He's an angel, there's nothing he's done, but I'm lying here with you. I'm not guilty when he gives me the world and all I dream of. The only thing missing is love. Why can't I stop loving you when I know I can't play this part? This life that I lead is a lie that I need. Still it should keep us apart. Won't you return my please return my heart.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Flyin A's, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you all very,
Thank
very
you
much.
so much.
Cool.